I'm Michael Bull. Thank you for being with us. This segment is brought to you by CommercialAgentSuccess.com. Check it out for the ultimate training for commercial agents. It's CommercialAgentSuccess.com. Well, today we're going to talk about the future, right? In commercial real estate, I think also more so than almost any other industry, we really want to know what's going on in the future that's going to affect values, in fact, property use, in fact, impact the occupants of real estate. Well, please welcome my guest. It's Daniel Burrus, and he's founder and CEO of Burrus Research. He is author of 7 best-selling books, including The Anticipatory Organization, How Disruptive and Change Can Be Turned into Opportunity and Advantage. And he's joining us on the phone. Daniel Burrus, thank you for joining us again, sir.
Hey, it's my pleasure to be with you.
And Daniel, you've been doing this for a long time. You've got a great track record of being right. And like I said in the opening, in this business, it's trying to figure out what's going to happen down the pike is so important to us. How do you do that? How does someone predict the future?
Well, one of the ways that I've, over the last 35 years, had a track record of being right is I leave out the parts I can be wrong about. And at first, of course, that can sound kind of funny, but what is really interesting is how much you can indeed be right about when you know how and where to look. And basically, for all of our listeners, to frame our conversation up today, instead of me saying I'm the only guy with the good list of trends, because there's no shortage of trends, the problem is which ones are going to happen and which ones aren't and when. What I've done is come up with a methodology that has proven to be accurate, and that is how to take any trend and separate it into one of 2 categories. Either it's a hard trend based on a future fact that will indeed happen, or it is a soft trend based on an assumption that might happen. And when you learn to separate trends into the future facts from future assumptions, it gives you a powerful way to move forward, because you can't stop a hard trend from happening, but you can see disruption before it disrupts, giving you the opportunity to become the disruptor rather than default to being the disrupted. And the beautiful part about a soft trend is if you don't like it, it can change. Matter of fact, I can remember being with some of the top real estate agents back in about 2008. And as we know, real estate was dropping like crazy. Values were going down, both residential and commercial, because I own both, so I understand. And so I was with the top agents, and it was going down, down, down like crazy, and they were very depressed. And so I said to them, all right, is this a permanent change, and real estate value will go down to 0 and stay there? Or is this a cyclical change, and it will go down and then swing back up again? And right away, they started feeling better, because they realized, oh, wait a minute, it isn't going to go down to 0, and it will swing back up again. My point is there is cyclical change, business cycles, weather cycles, biological cycles, but there is also permanent changes. Once you get a smartphone, you're not going back to a dumb phone. Once the people in China park their bicycle and get a car, they're not going back to the bicycle. So if we can really start getting a handle on those future facts, those disruptive forces ahead of time, we got an advantage. And some of your listeners might remember that back in 2009, when I was writing, not my latest book, The Anticipatory Organization, but the one before that, Flash Foresight. So I was writing that book. I decided to use the principles of the book to start a company with no money and with no employees and see how good the book is. And what I ended up doing was creating the first national real estate apps. And we were the 7th most downloaded app within the first week, and we ended up with millions of users, and also found a way to monetize it. I charged real estate agents $24.95 for an exclusive zip code within the app. It didn't take long, and we had millions of people doing that, and it went really well, and I ended up licensing that to a small company that became big called Zillow. So when you're using real estate apps today, it was based on our software. So my point is, how did I know to do that? Because at the time, they were saying, well, there's only 150,000 apps in the App Store. This is back in 2009. So if you're thinking of starting an app business, it's too late. There's already 150,000 apps. But I knew as a future fact, we had barely scratched the surface because there were hardly any business apps at the time. And I said, am I certain there will be more and more apps? And the answer is yes. Sales apps, service apps, apps for remote diagnostics of diseases, apps for remote management of disease, apps to find your missing dog, and so on. And so I was able to make the invisible future visible. That's what I'd like our listeners to do, Michael, today, is to, instead of everything is uncertain, we don't know anything about the future, we're heading into an election year, who knows what's going to happen, so we'll wait and see. I would like all of our listeners to be much more strategic than that and realize that disruption and technology-driven change is waiting for nobody, including an election. And the opportunity to take action in 2020 is really bigger than ever before, because a lot of companies, a lot of commercial real estate people, a lot of mall people that have malls and so on, they're going to wait and see, and they're going to miss the big opportunity of 2020. So I think if we start looking at what do we know about commercial real estate, about shopping malls, about people, we'll have a huge advantage.
So you bring up 2020 elections and the fact that some people kind of will be frozen in their tracks. There's probably be, a lot of opposition on both sides of the aisle, and that's spilling over into our dining room tables and our boardrooms today. So in your mind, you should not let that stall you in 2020, that there might be some opportunities?
Exactly. Like, for example, what I just said, when I was starting in 2009 and I was getting ready to launch the first national real estate app, there was a CNN news article that came out and said, if you're thinking of starting an app business, it's too late. There's already 150,000. And what did I think? Oh, gee, I guess I should forget about this and do something else. No. What I thought is, good. I hope everybody listens to that. It'll get rid of a lot of the competition because they'll bail out, making the mistake of the fact that actually the big opportunity just lies ahead. I think, Michael, the good old days of brick and mortar real estate, hear me now, is ahead of us, not behind us.
And let's
it's
talk
ahead of us, not behind us.
And
it doesn't look like the days behind us because we're going to have to do new things. I mean, part of it is around what is your future view. If let's just take, if you have, let's say, 150 retail locations, brick and mortar retail locations, and you see the future as bleak and the good old days are behind us and Amazon's taken over, you might close 150 stores. By the way, Sears is doing that, and others are doing that right now as we speak. On the other hand, if you look at technology and you realize we don't live in a technological world, we live in a human world, and it's based on relationships and customer experiences. And the reason a lot of retail is going out of business isn't because of Amazon, it's because your customer experience is terrible. and that's why you've got a problem. And you're trying to compete with Amazon instead of redefine and reinvent the customer experience in a physical environment. So when you start doing that, well, why is Amazon opening up over 100 physical, tangible bookstores right now? Why are there online e-commerce only companies that started out online opening up brick and mortar stores all over the country right now? They are seeing a different future than Sears and the others that are closing. They're seeing actually a new future. So I would like all of the people that are listening to this to, first of all, should pick up a copy of the Anticipatory Organization so that you can understand how to separate the hard trends from the soft trends. But secondly, once you learn how to do that, you should help your clients and your potential clients and customers separate the wheat from the chaff. The old way of thinking, which is like looking into the future through a rearview mirror, into a new way of thinking. Because I don't mind, let's say, the old technology. I mind, we call that, by the way, legacy technology. What I really worry more about is legacy thinking. So when we're talking to people that are thinking about commercial real estate, it's really about building change into it, using technology, bridging the gap with that physical store to make it also, from a customer experience standpoint, not boring, but the opposite, exciting, and to be able to match Amazon prices in the store and offer infinite inventory in a physical space, which, by the way, you can do today. And if you'd like to ask me more about that, I'm happy to talk about it.
Yeah, I like it. So the future may be brighter for retail sticks and bricks because of that human experience. So a listener might be in a market or an area where they're looking, and maybe the retail properties they're looking at looks depressed, but it may be kind of a cycle in how we've went from high technology to now more of, hey, these technology companies realize they need the sticks and bricks. They need to have the experience with the customer.
That's just it. You see, they don't have a relationship with the customer. They have a sale they've made, but they don't have a relationship. And the problem, the old version of what you're calling the bricks and sticks or brick and mortar retail, is that we didn't create relationships either. We just were transaction-based. Come in, you buy something, you leave. But the best of us did better than that. The best of us got to know our customers so that they became repeat customers. Because your best future customer is a customer you've already had. So we're starting to learn how to create relationships, as well as not to create a boring store. Let's face it, no wonder Sears is closing. It was boring to go in there, and you talked to a sales clerk, and you knew more about how to find something than they did. Well, no wonder they're going out of business.
Yeah, Daniel, that makes sense when you look at the experience. I just experienced it the other day. I was in a grocery store, and I got a bit of the Ritz-Carlton experience. I asked an employee where something was located, and he started to tell me the aisle, and then he said, look, this is the aisle, but I'm going to take you right to the item, and I'm going to point to you where they are. And I thought, you know what, this is a store I want to come back to because they tend to care about me. And Daniel, I want your view on the office world too, because there's certainly a lot of changes going on there and a lot of technology. So we're going to take a quick break. As soon as we get back, we'll ask Daniel Burrus with Burrus Research about the future of office and how technology and trends may impact the future. Stay with us. I'm Michael Bull. This is America's Commercial Real Estate Show. America's Commercial Real Estate Show is brought to you by Bull Realty. For customized asset and occupancy solutions, visit bullrealty.com. Commercial Agent Success Strategies. Incredible training for commercial agents. Visit commercialagentsuccess.com.